Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me for part one of our series, Reversibility for Adaptability. So hopefully you were able to catch the introduction, the short introduction that's going to kind of explain how this series works and what this series is about. If you haven't caught that introduction, go back and take a couple of minutes to watch just so you see where we're headed and how this is set up. So, episode one, part one, we are going to be on the floor. It's an entire floor practice, and we definitely want to have a blanket over the mat. So, take a moment, grab a blanket. You're going to tuck it in at one end of the mat. You're going to tuck it in at the other end of the mat. And then we'll want to have just a little bit of space on either side of the long edges of your mat. We're going to be towards the end of this rolling into a shape and then backing that movement up and reversing, right? Finding ownership of the shape, ownership of the movement pattern. So let's go ahead and get started. And we're going to start on your right side today. So go ahead and come on to your right side body. And we'll go ahead and make a pillow with this right arm. You can hug your knees all the way in towards your chest. And then we'll take this top leg, this left leg, and you're going to kind of open it out behind you like a kickstand. So that's going to be kind of your stabilizing leg. And of course, your left hand can stay to the floor to help stabilize you as well. And we're going to do what I like to call slide and glide. So you're going to slide this right leg down and then bend your knee and bring it back up. And that's a pretty simple movement. And we want to kind of brush the skin as we're doing this. So if we've got a little bit of texture on our blanket, it really activates some sensory awareness. And now you can see why we didn't want to do this on a sticky mat. It just wouldn't be comfortable. So let's just kind of brush the skin. This really helps to get the circulation moving, also helps to get our lymphatic system kind of activated and flowing. And we're going to stay with this, tapping into that sensory awareness, right? Body's largest sense organ is our skin. So let's activate the skin here. And then the next time you're extended, we'll pause and you're going to float your leg up, which is really going to start to activate your adductor, your inner thigh. So let's stay. We're going to keep this, and you're going to point and flex your foot, right? Pointing and flexing your foot. And as we keep going here, maybe we start to notice that other muscles are starting to contract, starting to engage. Just be aware of that. We'll really let this adductor, your inner thigh, do most of the work here. But I always feel some of my obliques here on the top side activating. So maybe we notice that there's a connection between adductors and obliques. And then go ahead and lower your leg. You're going to slide and glide. And as you extend, you're going to lift. And then we lower, slide and glide, extend and lift. And you're going to settle into a pretty simple rhythm here, right? Repeating this movement, really activating the fascia in your leg and the connective tissue around your hip joint, kind of stretching and hydrating your hip flexors here. And we're actually going to stay with this for maybe 4 more. So maybe we'll go 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then go ahead and let your leg come all the way down. And we're going to roll this all the way onto your back. And as you come onto your back, stretch both of your legs out. And let's do a little sensory awareness, kind of scanning through your right side, maybe feeling a little bit of pulsation or vibration, or sometimes it feels a little bit like a humming sensation in your leg, or maybe in the sole of your foot. There might be a little residual sensation of energy around your hip socket. Whatever it is that you're noticing, it is this act of noticing that we call sensory awareness. We're not looking for anything in particular. We are noticing. And then you can start to bring your legs together. And this time we're going to have those toes pointing up towards the sky. So it's a really neutral leg. And then back on this right side, you'll externally rotate. So you're turning your toes out to the right. And this movement really originates all the way up from the hip socket. And you're going to slide the leg into what we call like a half bound angle or almost a supine tree. And then slide your foot back down. And as it goes all the way into extension, you're going to come back into your neutral and reach out through your heel. All right, so that's our movement. We externally rotate, we slide and glide, we come into neutral, and we heel thrust. So let's settle into this rhythm, right? Enjoying the movement through the joints, the brushing of the skin, the activation, right, of our nervous system that sits in the skin. All right, let's do one more. And as you come down, go ahead and pause again, complete relaxation. And let's do that scan, that sensory awareness, feeling again into that vibration, that humming, that pulsating, right? That sense of vitality and aliveness. All right, we're going to be rolling onto the left side, buddy. I want to stay facing you, so I'm going to do my kind of slow motion break dancing here on my mat and come around and face you this way. So as you come down, we'll take the left arm, we'll make that pillow again. You'll bend your knees, bring them in towards your chest, and then we'll take the top leg, which is that right leg, and you'll open it out behind you like your little kickstand. All right, let's do just the slide and glide here for a few moments. Maybe closing your eyes, maybe feeling, right, the pattern or the texture of your blanket. All right, the next time you're in the extension, pause and lift. And let's notice again, right, that the inner thigh just contracted to lift your leg. So we'll notice if other areas of your body, for me, it's the obliques on the top, that start to activate. Right. So if your jaw is activating, if your neck and shoulders are activating, we'll let those areas kind of simmer down a little bit. And let's come into this pointing and flexing. So it really is kind of this pumping movement of your fascial system. And we're going to stay with this for a few more moments, being with all that is. You might be feeling some sensations of warmth in your inner thigh. And then go ahead and lower your leg and we'll slide and glide, extend, and lift. And that's our rhythm. So maybe we come back to closing the eyes, activating a little bit more of that interoception, that inner awareness. Right? A lot of sensations. Sensations are the quickest way into the present moment, right? Sensory awareness. Let's stay with this, maybe 4 more. We could go for 4 and 3 and 2 and last one. Okay, as your leg comes all the way back to the earth, roll yourself back onto your back. We are pausing here again for a little bit of somatic integration, sensory awareness, noticing maybe pulsation, undulation, vibration, sensation. And then start to walk these 2 legs together. And we'll keep these toes pointing up towards the sky to start. And then on your left side, let's explore the external rotation. So again, that movement really originates from the hip socket. And you're going to slide the leg up into that supine tree and then slide it back down and do your heel thrust. right? And then settle into your rhythm here. So if we really have tightness around the pelvis, issues around the hips, maybe the low back, this is a great practice to kind of come into every day. It's really, in a way, it's kind of kneading your fascia, really pumping your fascial system. And this can help us in, rewriting some of the tension patterns that perhaps the body is holding. Let's do a couple more here. And the next time you're in that extension, we'll pause, we'll completely relax. The only thing that's moving right now are your circulatory systems, your breath, and your awareness, right? We're checking in with all of that sensation of vitality that's now moving through your left leg. So as I was mentioning earlier, we are staying on the back for this practice. And from here, we're going to start to take these legs out a little bit wider. So your heels are moving towards the long edges of your mat. Take your arms out a little bit wider if that feels good for you. And we'll take our awareness back down into this right foot. And we're going to internally rotate, right? Before we were externally rotating. So it's almost like your toes are pointing over towards the left. But again, this movement is originating from the hip socket. And you're going to keep that internal rotation as much as you can as you start to bend your knee and kind of drag your heel in towards you. And eventually your foot will leave the earth and you'll circle to your external and we'll press it back down. So let's find this rhythm, right? Really starting to move through the full range of motion in your hip socket. Right? A little internal, a little flexion, a little external, and a little extension. So let's find a few more of these variable movement patterns. And the next time that your leg is down, you'll pause again. That was a little more muscular, so we might be noticing a little more echo around the muscles of the hip, around the hip socket. All right, let's go over to the other side. So internally rotate. Drag your heel along the floor, make your big circle to the external and press it back down. All right, so this side might be very different, right? One hip socket might feel a little more fluid. The other one might feel maybe a little more sticky or a little less fluid, or you might be noticing some little hitches. And, we could always slow this movement down and get really connected to all that is. We're getting a lot of information here. And slowing repetitive movement, right? Checking in with everything that's here in the hip socket. This is a big aspect of somatics. So let's do a couple more. And the next time that you have your left leg extending all the way out, we'll pause. And we'll start to walk these two legs back together again. Now, we're going to keep the arms reaching out and away from the heart space for this. And we're going to come into this external rotation on your right side again. So both legs are kind of zipped together as if you have a zipper between your legs. And then externally rotate over to the right. Drag the sole of that right foot along the inner seam of your left leg. It's like that slide and glide we did earlier. But from here, we're going to add on. So you're going to bring the knee up towards the sky. You're going to let your knee drop over towards the left in a way that feels good and stretchy for you. You can let your shoulder leave the earth if that feels appropriate. And then we'll reverse the movement. So you'll come back onto your back, go all the way back into the tree pose, and then slide that right foot down to meet the left and go back into that heel. Okay, let's try that on the left side. Externally rotate, come into your supine tree, bring that knee up, let it roll over into that juicy, juicy twist, moving in a way that feels appropriate for you. And then reverse that movement. Come all the way back, go all the way back into your tree. Slide your foot all the way down and go into the heel thrust. All right, let's go back over to the right. Right, rolling from that tree into your twist, and from your twist back to your tree. This is our first introduction of this kind of reversibility, right? Moving the body in one movement pattern, kind of moving forward, and then reversing that pattern. And as we continue through this series, right, we're going to take bigger and more complex forward and backward movements. But let's kind of get the hang of it here. Alternating side to side, just one more time. All right, as you complete this final pattern, come all the way back onto your back, and I'll meet you here. And we might just pause again to find our integration, right? To notice. I can feel a little more movement of energy around my hip sockets, my quads. There's definitely a lot of vibration around my feet, around my ankles. Maybe feeling a little vibration up into my inner arm. Right? So anything is fair game. Notice what you're noticing. We're going to do one more movement here. This is probably our most complex movement. And then we're going to close out this first part. So go ahead and take your legs wide again towards the long edges of your mat. And we're going to bring the arms up a little bit higher, like a big star shape. Okay, let's go back to the right side, and you'll externally rotate the right leg. Bend your knee coming out to the side. All right, you're going to start to bring your knee up and over like we were doing, but this time you're going to let it roll you all the way onto the left side and all the way onto your belly, which is why we wanted a little more space on the side of the mat. Okay, you have both arms reaching forward and you've got that right knee out to the side. So let's pull these hands back towards us. Can you keep the arms straight? We don't have to go far. Lift the heart. And then slide those hands forward, lowering your belly. You're going to roll back onto your left side, bring that right arm over, bring that right knee over, and then slide it back down, right? So this forward and backward movement really allows us to own this movement pattern, just like a baby learning to crawl or learning to roll over onto its belly and then roll back. So let's try this over to the left side, right? Externally rotate the left leg. Bend your knee, bring it out to the side. Start to bring that left knee up and over and let this movement roll you onto your right side body and then eventually all the way onto your belly. Arms are reaching forward like a superhero. Keep the arms straight. Pull your hands back towards you. You don't have to lift very high. And then slide those hands back down. Start to bring this left arm up and over, and we'll travel along with that left leg coming all the way back onto the back, and then sliding the left leg down to meet the right. Let's do that just one more time on each side. To the right, externally rotate, knees out to the side. Bring your leg up and over, rolling onto your left side body, bringing that right arm all the way up and over. Arms are reaching straight ahead like a superhero. See if you can keep those arms straight. Pull your hands back, even if it's just a millimeter or two. And then slide the arms forward, lower the heart, start with that right arm, bring it up and over. Follow along with that right leg until you're all the way back into that external rotation and you're sliding the right leg down to meet the left. Last one, externally rotate on the left. Bring your knee out to the side. Start to bring that leg up and over. It's rolling you onto your right side, buddy, and then eventually onto your belly. All right, pull those hands back, even if it's just a little lift, and then slide it forward. Start to bring this left arm all the way up and back. Left leg follows. We go all the way back into the external rotation, and we slide back down. And from here, we're pausing. If it feels okay for you to keep those arms up, you could. I'm going to bring mine down along my side body and come back into this place of integration. Right, so that last movement pattern was probably our most complex for this first episode. And maybe we're still trying to figure it out, right? So variability is our key to adaptability. So we play with the movement pattern, just like a baby would play with movement patterns until the baby owns the movement pattern and eventually becomes bipedal and starts to walk around. So this is an aspect of our somatics. It's good for the brain. It's good for the body. It's good for our balance. It's good for our stability. So I am going to leave us here. And once you feel really comfortable with this first episode, dive into episode 2 and feel free to kind of bring these two together, 1 and 2, and then we'll add in 3 and 4 when it's time. All right. Salud. Here's to your health.